ニケ。
Okay. So we watched this last. Doing these two, and these two.
そちらから呼んでもらえるなんて想像もしていませんでした。何かありましたか？
協力しなさい。
え？
私に協力してって言ってるの。
そう来るとは思っていませんでした。どういった風の吹き回しですか？
理事会に圧力をかける。二度と私のものに手を出してこないようにしておきたいの。
Also the wording. What's hers? What is hers? What constitute as hers?
でも今の私の力だけじゃあいつら全員を
It is
相手にする
DK.
の
Hello.
足りないから。
Not government name.
どう？
お父様が後ろにいることは分
Redacted.
かっているのでしょうね。もう引退から何年も経っているというのに、目と耳として使われ続けているような人たちです。理解していますか？私たちが今でも見張られているということは、私たちが今でも見張られているということは、
Interesting.
それを知っているから今まで理事会に手を出してこなかったのでは？
ええ、分かってる。
そんなことをすればお父様に嫌われてしまうかもしれませんよ。
関係ない。
へえ、そうですか。分かっていて自分の父親の目を潰すと？
そうしないとあいつらは私のものに手を出し続けるから。今回のことで思い知らされたのよ。自分のものを守るためにはあいつらを力ずくで潰しておくしかないの。震えながら体をすくませて二度と身動きもできないぐらい。だからお前はお父様が嫌いなはず。
覚悟を決めたみたいやね。派手に燃やされた甲斐はあったということにしておきましょうか。
で、やるの？やらないの？
手伝ったら私に何かいいことが？
別に何も。
へえ、欲張りさんですね。
お前こそそっちにとってもあいつらは邪魔。違った？わざわざ何度も顔を出して私をけしかけようとしてたのはそのためでしょ？目障りなあいつらを消したいから。
あら、そんなことを考えているのですか？
狙ってるのが私の椅子なら私はとっくに蹴落とされてるはずでしょ？そうする時間も口実も十分にあったんだから。でもそうしてないじゃない。つまりお前も私と同じことを考えてるってこと。違った？
すっかりお見通しやね。
Hello. Hello, the quiet perfectionist. Yes. It has been.
ええ、その通りです。私も死ぬほどあいつらが嫌いなので。お父様の目なんて考えるだけで踏みつぶしたなってまうわ。いいでしょう。手を貸します。それで何から始めましょうね。
シュエ、マクスウェル、大変だ。宿所に誰もいない。みんな荷物をまとめて去ってしまったようだ。相変わらずうるさいね。知ってるからこっち来て。知っていたのか。他の人たちには全員改めて謝礼を出して普通のニケのボディに変えるってことにしたの。
I see. Okay. Okay. I get it. Okay. So I think my confusion was more that it was only the 8 Nikke that were put into the pods first. Because they weren't all done at once. And so they exploded. And so everyone else was like, oh, is that what's going to happen to me? And so they kind of deserted. Well, not deserted, but just ended the experimentation at this stage.
1人か2人くらいは残るかと思ったけど、まあ見当違いだったみたい。構わないわよ。どうせその程度のやつらじゃ鉄くずしかできないし。鉄くず？シュエン、その言い方はやめなって。
She got that from her dad.
鉄くずが鉄くずって呼べないならどう呼べっていうのよ。出来損ないどもがニケなんておこがましいわ。ニケの名前はそんな軽いものじゃないのよ。今回のことでよくわかったわ。鉄くずと本物のニケは違う。体が変わったぐらいのことで記憶をなくしたりしないのよ。
They don't lose their memories just because their body's been swapped out.
ニケはどんな状況でも人間、いや、それ以上の力で乗り越えられる存
So
在の。
after her witnessing Laplace perform the way that she did, no other Nikke will maintain or even have the same definition unless they're much like Laplace.
私が作るヒーローのような2人といない子たちにこそふさわしい名前なの。代わりがいないならニケで、そうでなければ。
And this is where Laplace got a warped idea of what a Nikke is.
ほら、ラプラスまで変なことを学習し始めちゃったじゃない。とにかく話がそれちゃったけど、私たちのプロジェクトはこれからただ一人のために続けることにしたの。ただ一人のため？そう。メティスの第1号が完成するまでこれから先計画の対象はたった一人。お前だけよ。なんだって？他の候補者はもういらないわ。最初のメティスはお前がなるの。求めていた性能にお前が届けば成功。届かなければ失敗ってこと。証明の時は1ヶ月後。タイラント級ラプチャー1機を単独で撃破してもらうわ。タイラント級ラプチャーを倒す？本当にできるの？それぐらいできないと。そうでなきゃラプラスがヒーローだって証明して世間を黙らせられないでしょ。できるわよね。できる。いや、絶対にやってみせる。私は
Watch me.
ヒーローにならなければならないからだ。その息よ。じゃあ始めましょう。
There's a lot. So let me explain this. The easiest thing for you to do is to go back and watch my stream where the title said hit by a car, ball up top. This event, so I normally do stream Nikke events. Actually, I can just do this. But this one started before I had to work, and I had an appointment that morning too. So it was like I had to kind of speed run. And it was difficult. So this is an event that I wish I did stream. If it came out at the time that these events used to come out, then I would have done it, but it didn't. So here I am streaming it. Basically, Laplace just man, she's that way because she's in the second stage of turning into what Siwon wants, which is a hero, but she wants to make like a very special, important, strong, her idea of what a Nikke should be. So right now she's kind of still in the prototype phase, and it's a lot. But this event is more about you're gonna okay. I'm not gonna talk about it yet because we're gonna get to like down here once I do, and everything I'm going to talk about won't make a whole lot of sense. The easiest thing to do is I just go back and watch everything. But this event is so meaningful, not just with the lore of the game, but kind of just real life decision making is how I'll put it, right? And while it's not one-to-one of what people will do, IRL, it's kind of the mindset that Siwon has that makes her a very problematic, incredibly well-written character that's consistent and has been consistent from the very beginning. When this game first came out, was it November 2020? 22? One of those? Truly a Nikke moment, yeah. But right now, Laplace is very young mentally, as she came from an abusive household, of course. You know, every tragic backstory needs a tragic hero. Right, reverse that. But she's not known like a normal world. So kind of things that you would think about your day-to-day are things that she just wouldn't have been exposed to in her situation. And so she's very unaware right now. And honestly, this is the very tragic tale of Maxwell, honestly. And I really wish I'd had a whole like paper, like something prepared for this, because there's so many little moments that matter, that builds up to what the core problem ends up being by the end. So, and then we're gonna do the hard mode ending today. And this is a direct result after GN and Siwon got back at the board. So we gotta skip past that, unfortunately. That's too quickly.
理事会のやつらもう邪魔される心配はないなんて言うのもそうだし、そんなの決まってるじゃない。ゆすってやっただけ。え？材料を持ってきてくれたのはお前じゃないの。あれを有効活用したってだけ。
And that being the evidence that they tampered with her experiments and her Nikke production, which caused them all to melt in the pods and die. A few days earlier.
贈り物しっかり受け取らせてもらったわ。どんな手を使ったのかと思ってたけど、被験体の周りで高熱が発生した時、体の内側から爆発みたいな反応が起こる薬を飲ませてたってことね。いくら調べても原因が見つからないわけよ。
Yeah, especially if the body's burned out, you wouldn't find the evidence because there's none left.
薬を飲んだ被験体はみんな溶けてなくなるし、実験の失敗でメディアが騒いでる間に研究所を丸ごと燃やして証拠を隠滅すれば全部隠し通せると思ってたみたいね。でもどういうわけかしら。私の手元にこういうものが転がってきたの。
おっしゃっていることがよくわかりません。 私たちがそれを研究所に持ち込ませたという証拠でも終わりなのですか？
はいはい、お前たちならそう言うと思ったわ。そうね、確かにお前たちがやったって証拠はない。でもね、どうだっていいのよ。私もいちいち証明しようなんて思ってないから。外のうるさいやつらはそうね、抗議団体の連中とか遺族とかあたりにちょっと金を握らせてやれば静かになるでしょうし、事故の犠牲者も8人ぐらいならメティスのニケを1体でも完成させて性能を見せつけてやれば。
I'm gonna watch it tomorrow night 4D. It's a whole night with the boys. I'm going to another city to go see it. I'm gonna, after I end this stream, I'm gonna watch, well, it's not necessary, I'm gonna watch Multiverse of Madness. I wanted to watch the WandaVision show prior to it, because while I know a little bit of what she did at the end of the season, I don't know much of anything. And I wanted to watch it, because, like, Doctor Strange is one of my favorite movies to watch, is, you know, I guess Spider-Man now these days. Last night I saw No Way Home, and then yeah, tonight I'm gonna watch Multiverse of Madness. I wanted to watch everything in context, but I don't know it's not necessary, but I'm gonna watch it anyways. Also, hi Joseph.
必要な尊い犠牲だったとか言ってバカみたいに手のひらを返すわ。それでも私はお前たちにこれを見せてやってるのよ。なんでかわからない？お前最近は毎朝サプリを飲んでるそうね。それどんな形だったか覚えてる？その隣のお前はいつだったかしらね。一昨日あたり病院に行ってたみたいね。使われた薬と成分しっかりわかってる？その隣のお前は1週間前がエターナルライフの投与日だったわね。
And evergreen is what they use to stay alive for as long as they, you know, as they have.
お言葉ですが、一体何の話を？
あら、そうかっかしないの。熱くなりすぎちゃったら大変でしょ。
まさか。
いいことを教わったわ。
So
どうやったら証拠を残さずに人を溶かしてしまえるのか。
because the people destroyed her lab and nearly killed Maxwell, ruining her publicity as well by destroying the Nikkes who were going to be made, she took the formula that they used for those Nikkes and put it into the medicine for the board members. So while they won't fill the one-to-one conditions of being put in a pod and then being experimented on, if they so much as step outside or do anything that causes their body temperature to rise, the same thing happens.
教わったことは使わせてもらわないとね。
あの薬を私たちに？
Yeah, so they've already tampered with their medicine for those who take it.
ああ、そういえば今日の気温はどれぐらいだったかしら。死にたくなければエニックに温度を下げてって頼んでみたら？
There's so much wrong with that sentence because it assumes that I wrote the story and decided myself to put the lollies in there. We do like Sewin though, so it's okay. So I don't know how many streams you've seen, but the purpose of me streaming this is I'll wait till the end because it spoils too much. But there's a reason why this character is honestly so well written, and the writers of Nikke, honestly, I think they're just too big for this game. I love Nikke with all my being, and honestly the game is as big because it has, I don't think it would have been as successful if it was just the fan service. But the writers behind this game are honestly so big, and I don't want to say they're too big. I know I kind of already did. I don't want to say that they're too big for this game, but they're definitely too big for this kind of medium, and they deserve so much more.
それができなきゃ家でエアコンつけて外に出
Not
ない
speaking French.
それもダメならトイレで出てくるまで待つってのもあるわね。でもどうだったかしら。何も起こらずに排出される薬だったかどうか。あなたはよく覚えときなさい。
God, that happened so fast.
まだ私のことステージでガタガタ震えてたバカな小娘だと思ってるみたいだけど、身の程をわきまえずにまた私のものに手を出すようなら、次は寝顔のそばに火でも置いといてあげるわ。私が気に入らなければお前たちなんかいつでも溶けて消えるんだから。わかった？やっと静かになったわね。じゃあみんな私のプロジェクトが成功するように祈ってなさい。それくらいはお前たちみたいな役立たずでもできるでしょ。あの薬のこと？そう、見せてやったらすっかり震え上がって。
Maxwell doesn't know about the tampering with the medicine part, though.
あれだけで素直に認めたの？白を切ったって無駄でしょ。私に知られてるんだから。そっか、それはそうかも。 CEO が知ってたらどうとでもできるもんね。まあ今後は前より警備を厳しくしておくから、もう心配は。
速報です。今朝ミシリスインダストリーの女性役員が自宅で遺体となって発見されました。ベッドの上で全身やけどを負った状態だったと発表されており、世間に大きな衝撃を与えています。
Thank you for that. Very
ど
cool.
ういうこと？ベッドの上で全身やけど。そんなこと。まったく世の中って本当に物騒だわ。
What do you... Okay.
それもうちの役員なんてね、恨まれてたのかしら。普段からも
I'm gonna be spending a lot of money tomorrow. So I'm gonna try and stay up for the Grand Blue stream. And I think I'm gonna buy myself some Tai Chi for it. Tai Chi is very expensive. And I'm also gonna spend money eating at a restaurant tomorrow evening as well. But tomorrow's a good day, so it's gonna be worth it. Hold on, I want to play the line again because I was just kind of... It's just... Hear the way she says this.
Well,
how am I doing? I'm alive, so that's great. It's... So... You know I did get hit by a car, right? So, like, I rode my bike to work today. And it's funny, because... We have bike lanes, but like the people park in the bike lanes. So it's like what am I supposed to do? I was doing super slow grandma speeds today. I was not going above a certain speed, and some people respected like me on the road, and then others were like, fuck off. But how? Well, I was on my bike. A guy didn't see me because he never looked to his left, not once, not a single time, and then he just hit me. And then I laid in the street for a little bit. But if you want the full story, you got to watch the stream where I said, with the titles like I got hit by a car, ball up top. So my wrist They said my thumb is the one that's fractured, but I don't feel it in my thumb. It's like in my wrist. It's really my wrist that's fractured right now, so I have a splint, and I can't play video games. So I can play this, and I can play Grand Blue, but I can't play like anything that uses a controller. So I play like ZZZ still, because it doesn't put too much pressure on my wrist, and I can kind of do Enfield, but Enfield makes my wrist hurt, so I can't really play it. But it's still been fun. And of course they put the what's it called up today, and I'm just like, well,
何よ急に改まって
did I go to the hospital? Yeah. I almost did, and I was just gonna like lay down, but my left arm wouldn't move, or it was rather it hurt too much to move, so that's what made me go. Like basically because I got hit on my left side. Okay, hold on. We gotta remain focused.
シュン
She's in deep concern.
あなた本当に脅しただけなんだよね当然でしょ私がわざわざ家に行って火でもつけたっていうの
So is this plausible deniability? Because it's not quite, right? How do I go to my... Well, because like it's the scaphoid bone and it's in between, right? So hold on. I did get his info, but I don't think I'm going to be doing anything about it, really. Yeah, it is plausible deniability. This is literally the definition of plausible deniability. I better? I'm still on the fence, right? Feels like... The thing is... It's a long-winded thing. This is not the stream to talk about it, but there's a lot of thought I put into it, and it's too much effort and time to pour into this. It's a lot. It's too much to discuss. But I do want to discuss Sewing a little bit. But I still have some time to decide if I want to do something about it, which I still could, and I might still do something, but anyway, so this line from Sewing, right? This plausible deniability, right? So the definition of it is essentially, let's see, the ability of a person or organization to deny connection, knowledge, responsibility, or involvement to a controversial action in a manner that cannot be conclusively disproved. So it's, you know, it's basically if you have no way to link the person, organization, or whatever to the crime or action that has been committed or was committed, right? You know, there's not the, you could say, yeah, they're pretending. I mean, I don't know what happened to them. What could have happened? And you see how she's saying, you think I went to their house and set them on fire? Of course not. Of course she didn't. She didn't directly involve herself in the death of that person. But naturally, it is because of her that they died. Knocked off a fence with a metal object. The pain was only bad the first night when I tried to sleep. That was terrible. I didn't think to ask for painkillers, and they didn't mention that either. But the first night was bad. Other than that, it's been fine. I have to wear the splint. Well, I'm getting a cast Tuesday. And I don't know how long I'll have to wear the cast. It's until the bone heals, but I don't know how long this is going to take. So until it heals, I literally cannot play Overwatch, and that sucks. Oh, Maxwell. And I wouldn't say that Maxwell's falling for it, right? Given the circumstances, of course, you have no other option but to believe Sewing. But the other thing is that Maxwell wants to believe that Sewing is doing everything correctly, the right way. She doesn't want Sewing to turn into her father, basically.
二度と調子に乗らないように。
But of course, Siwon, the only people who would go as far to do what Siwon did is her sister, and then her father. So.
そうだったんだ。立派立派。
Maxwell.
理事会を力ずくでねじ伏せるなんて。
We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Probably tomorrow, because tonight I'm watching Multiverse.
本当に CEO らしくなったよ。もうちびっこなんて呼べないね。何？今までずっと子供だと思ってたわけ？
Maxwell pats Siwon on the head.
そう。それで大丈夫。わかった？マクスウェル、何よその言い方。どこかに行っちゃうみたいじゃない。いや、その気はないけどさ。この前研究室で火に巻かれた時、実はラプラスに助けられるなんて思ってもなかったんだよね。死ぬかもしれないって思ったら、いろんなことが
What are you
頭を
sending
よぎ
me?
ったんだ。
Oh my god.
いつまでもあなたのそばにはいられないんだなとか。
Honestly, what Maxwell was thinking about was what I was thinking about. Y'all ever get into an accident so bad? Why am I big there, man? But anyways, y'all ever get into an accident or something, and you just wake up and you get up and you just think, is this work shit really worth it? Honestly, where I'm at right now, I'd have no qualms. But if it were like the place before that, I think I'd have just done it again. Died, get hit, whatever. Do it all over.
自立してもらうためにも今のままじゃいけないんだろうなとか。そんなバカみたいなこと。
Just copy and paste. Uh-huh.
でもさ、
I wonder
私の
if
年
they
を考えてみてよ。
do like proper grammar or like I hear that Google Translate doesn't do it too well, but like with certain, like small statements like that, I wonder if it's something a Japanese native would be able to like read off.
そりゃエターナルライフで若い頃のピチピチなお肌をキープしてるけど、こう見えたってあなたのパパの代からミシリスで活躍してるんだよ。
So like, I wonder at what age they all decide to take this evergreen stuff, and like at what point do they think? I mean, like I feel like your 20s, your mid 20s, or even your 30s is like the ideal time because a lot of things are still developing, right? And the second a lot of that slows down is when you probably want to preserve where you're at.
私も所詮は人だし。
And this was an interesting fact, right? If you're a human who's lived a long life because of the evergreen, obviously it doesn't stop. I'm guessing it affects the cells of the body. So a little bit of science, I'm assuming a lot of people kind of know, but this is more of a refresher, hopefully, is that there is a fixed lifespan that your cells have in order to divide. After a certain time, like once you hit your 30s, the cell divide starts slowing down a bit. And then the older you get, the cells, they kind of come to a crawl, essentially. Which is why you age, like your skin changes, hair pigment changes, your mind, like your brain. So like it's something that I'm curious about because the brain ages along with the body and things just don't work as well. Like you're not as sharp, you're not as like precise with like motion and different things. So like how is it that the brain, the mind, so she specifically says mind here. I'd actually like to check the translation on this.
頭の切れる若い人に席を譲らないと。その後は退職金をたっぷり受け取って。
Doubt mostly because of slang. Yeah.
ロイヤルロードで贅沢三昧しながら 私週末はいつもミシリスの CEO とご飯を食べに行くんですよとか自慢してエターナルライフもやめちゃってさ穏やかに年を重ねて終わるべきじゃない？
This is what Maxwell wants. I'm gonna reiterate. This is very important, right? This is not okay. It's important in the understanding Maxwell, but Siwon understands and knows this. She verbally hears what Maxwell wants.
知らないわよ。そんなこと考える暇があるならラプラスの武装の改良
She
案に
changes the
悩んでおきな
subject.
さい。退職した後のことなんて。
It's funny. She's like, don't think about retirement already, but she's been here for like what 2-3 generations?
はいはい。我らがちびっこ CEO が生み出す最初のヒーローだからね。ちゃんと完成させられるように私も全力を尽くさないと。よし。じゃあ武装の調整も終わったことだし。
I will not be answering any questions.
本格的にプロジェクトを再開しよっか。コアの出力を最大まで引き上げるために今からエネルギーの注入を行うわ。ボディの生成前にしてた注射まだ覚えてる？覚えている。吐き気がして体の中が燃えるようだったでしょうね。あの注射は言ってみれば体験版。つまり今からやることに耐えられるかのテストだったってわけ。本番はあんな注射より何倍も熱が出るし体が裂けるような気がするぐらい苦しいはず。そうなのか。覚悟はいい？もちろんだ。じゃあ始めるわ。
Turning point.
耐えられそう？
I forgot what she says here. That's the wrong thing I opened just now. Okay, what if I... Oops. It's like, can you handle it, right? That's going off of memory. I don't know if that's like the right translation, right?
耐えられそう？
I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Let me, hold on. Let me try one more thing, because I'm curious. This won't give me a proper thing. Yeah, this gives me like the most proper full sentence without like, okay. I'm pretty sure that's what she's saying though. Best ending. Did I see anything that making a... No, I did not see that. I've got to see that. That sounds interesting though. He was watching new Spider-Man movie. But I'm watching that tomorrow.
そうなら頑張りなさい。出力を上げるにはどうしても避けられない工程なのよ。
Which is weird. So like I kind of went past it because I was like, this is wrong. In my mind I was saying that, but like why did they translate this into ellipses instead of just saying what she said? There's clearly like audio here
耐えられそう？
and she sounds concerned. Well, like this is clearly not what was being said. So I don't know about I don't know. It's good that I know very little Japanese, like enough to understand certain things being said, but like enough to know when things like that are happening. But like obviously I don't know about like a lot of the translations for a lot of the stuff, so it's like you know, I'll take what I can get. わかった。
ところでなんでアンテナを使ってないの？ アンテナ？
Let's see the top of the head.
その頭の上の角みたいなやつ。
You can't speak of what endure it. And it's still like it's weird, right? But like, why? Like, but that's like very clearly not the translation. And so why? It's just. I wonder what was going through like the translators' minds when they just did when they did that, because it felt like there was absolutely no need to do it like that.
電気信号を感知して周りに
Endure
何があるのか分かるようにできてるんだけど、理論的にはこの研究室と同じ階にいる人の場所ぐらい全部分かるはず。でもちゃんと使ってるところを見たことがないなと思って。電気信号？
Oh, that reminds me. Was she Denki? Yeah. Dengekiko. So anyone play Neptunia at any point? The Vita version of one of the games had Dengekiko, and then they had what was it, Famitsu-chan? I just hearing Denki reminded me of that, and I loved playing as Dengekiko. Let me see, Dengekiko. That is so funny. What a throwback. Mega Tag Mansion, was that? Or was it Mega Dimension U she was in? Yeah, she was Dengeki Magazine. Yeah, that's what it was. But that's a throwback.
それを感じればいいのか？そう。頭のアンテナはその信号を感知する役割を。おお、わかったぞ。ならば全身で電気信号を受けてみよう。え？
She flings her arms up to the sky.
Oh
my god.
すべて受け止めてやる。
She's so silly.
おお。はあ、技術がもったいない。あんなデリケートな機能、この子にいる？ああ、次に回しましょう。それがいいね。
I got used on Drake. And this is where we got the Laplace that was released. She was the first unit released in Nikke for the first event that wasn't that good, but no, the second event, right? Because the first event was a caller ID, no caller ID, and then the second event was the toy thing with Laplace, Drake, and Maxwell. And I remember when she released, I wasn't interested in her because I was like, ugh, lolly, right? But, and then she was kind of loud and just kind of Genki girl, but, you know, in the worst way. And then, was it, what chapter was it? You know, where spoilers, who she shot herself in the head. And I was like, wait a minute. And then she overcame her anxiety. That was pretty cool too. And I was like, man, yeah, this character's pretty cool. But I came around to her early chapters when she was first like shown. And then she was also really strong on release.
さて、いよいよ最後の調整だよ。準備はいい？もちろん。ピッカピカの新しいボディで最高の気分だ。テンション上がるのはわかるけど、
Yeah,
浮かれすぎないでね。
this, well, she did get a new unit just recently.
実戦前の最後のシミュレーションなんだ
So
から。
now we can't even say current Laplace.
もちろん
Also, hello. Welcome aboard. Soon looks back and forth at the two. This happens actually quite frequently, and I'm just gonna make a note of this right now. Yep, and then down at Maxwell, yeah, who's talking with Laplace while watching the operation monitor.
この光景もいつかは見られなくなるの。
She's very much thinking about that still.
シュエン、何か言った？いや、なんでもないわ。とにかく頑張りなさい。わかったシュエン。ベストを尽くせ。
Puffer go kind of nice. It does. It suits her.
よし。じゃ、 始めよっか。ラプラスレディー。シミュレーションスタート。
We're getting close. We got A and B and then monster. And then we got the hard mode ending that I'm gonna do tonight.
ここが地上。実際に見たらワクワクしてきた。ああ、地上の空もアークの空も同じだろうと思っていたが、
同じよ。
まるで別物だ。空気も澄んでいる気がする。私がこんな場所に立てるなんて本当に夢みたいだ。ヒーロー、どこだ。
Humble beginnings. Where's my hero? Or where's a hero, rather? That's what she said there. And she thought this Nikke who was just out on the road was gonna help her. Unfortunate. Everyone turned away from her. Yeah. Evil is a thing that must be defeated. The whole world should look upon Nikkes as heroes. Speaking of justice, right? Makoto, Yukiko, and Aigis for the Persona collab was it the 13th, right? Now, depending on when that, like if it's a morning or an evening, or if it's a day I have off, which it definitely won't. I think it's going to be on a Wednesday, right? Let me check. Ideally, I want to be streaming that, so... Yeah, it's a Wednesday, because that's their 13th, not our 13th. So, their 13th is my 12th, so it'll be the day before. Ah. Okay, I might be wrong about this. Harvester. That wasn't the thing that corrupted her, was it? Whatever chapter that was? I really don't remember. We're getting ever so close.
ベスターの脚部が回復してる。立て直されるよ。もう動けるの？完全に立ち上がられる前にまた崩さないと。コアを狙える？やってみる。ラプラス、シュエ、心配するな。君が作ったヒーローは倒れない。正義は負けない。もう一発行くぞ。さっき限界まで出力を引き上げて撃ったはずなのに、まだ最大値を出せるっていうの？今ここに正義を証明する。ハーベスターの沈黙を確認。作戦目標はクリア。
It's really a big deal because typically against was it Tyrant class, you do need a squad, a coordinated squad of elites to deal with it, and she did it by herself.
本当にやったのね。
This event is really huge in terms of like lore of the character in a type of almost generational abuse, but there's so much to explore and talk about, which I can't do until I get to the conclusion. So like I've already cleared the story. I just have not seen the hard mode ending, and I know the outcome, but I'm not going to talk about it because it's like until we get there. I talked about it on Discord a little bit, but my thoughts on Siwin, right? It didn't put her in. I'll just wait. I'll just wait.
タイラント級を一人で倒せた。
There was a like when the emotions I felt when I first finished this though was frustration. It was like frustration closer to anger because of the fate. Just like it's so much better if you watch all of the sequences of like the story up until this point, and then you get to this part and you get like to the ending, because it's the accumulation of different emotions and feelings that I never would have known existed. Frustration being a really clear subset of one very different feeling. It is just, man. And it gives context throughout many points of the story that like I've never I don't know what point I started streaming the Nikke story, but it was way before I started streaming any of it. But Siwin, Maxwell, and Laplace, it gives so much more context to the kind of characters that they were and the decisions and ideas that they had. And it's like back then you can only assume, oh, it's just part of the character arc, but now seeing how consistent all of them have been throughout the entire story since it came out way back then is just it's incredible. There's like there's this odd feeling of this payoff that comes. It's a cool picture. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the art for some of the characters don't do them justice. That's why this needs an anime, and we haven't gotten Tales from the Outpost in a bit. So for those who don't know, Tales of the Outpost is like they have a short animated series for Nikke, and they have some like the earlier chapters, and they haven't made one in a bit. The Dorothy one was the last one, right? But I'm wondering if they're doing bigger. Well, they was trying to see the reception on those. Like obviously everyone wanted a Nikke anime, so just don't fumble it, please. And she's made a true Nikke, and this is her ideal. And that's what she says. That's what she says when she clears stages, right? What she used to say. All right. Here we go. Now, and this is the thing, right? I want to say, up until this moment in the story, none of it's really like crazy or like wild, right? Like it's on par with a lot of like Nikke events, like story events, but nothing like wild, like truly wild until these last two ones, Monster A and then Monster B. And then this is what kind of sent me over the edge. So I'm hoping that for those who have been watching would have enough context to fully understand what's happening. But if you don't, I'm gonna just, hey, go back and watch the stream where I got hit, where I said I got hit by a car. Just watch that one, because like I think towards the end of it is when I started doing it on stream. And then every stream ever since that one has been about Nikke. So it's all gonna be like one after another.
最初の発表から何ヶ月ぶりだったかしら。プロジェクトメティスについていろいろと噂は聞いていたと思うわ。いい噂だけじゃなかったのは本当に残念だけど、それだけ話題になる重要なプロジェクトだということだから分かってもらえるわね。さて、そんな注目を集めたプロジェクトのことだけど、私がなぜここで直接話をしていると思う？それだけの結果が出たということ。わかるわよね。もう聞いた人もいると思うけど、改めて紹介するわ。我がミシリスインダストリーが誇る初のヒーローニケ、ラプラスよ。ヒーロー参上。アークの人々よ、会えて嬉しい。私はラプラスだ。ニケが再びみんなのヒーローと呼ばれるように、メティスの名を背負う最強のヒーローとして、アークは私が必ず守ってみせる。
And what's funny is that Laplace's OG art for this unit, it reminds me of, I was trying to remember the name of that game. It was like the one where you had to clothe or unclothe the zombies. I cannot think of the name, but it reminds me of the art style from that game. And it's okay, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's not what it sounds like. You basically, you strip them to their underwear and then they're defeated. It was an odd premise, but like it wasn't fan servicey from what I remember, but I didn't play too much of it because I didn't enjoy it too much.
どう？声も悪くないでしょ？これからもミシリスインダストリー、そして私シュエンは革新的な性能のニケ、アークを救う新たなヒーローを生み出すことに全力を尽くすつもりよ。次のメティスになりたければいつでも応募してきなさい。プロジェクトメティスはいつでも新しいヒーローを待っているわ。すっかり大人になったね。かっこいいよ、ちびっこ。
マクスウェル、頼む、助けてくれ。
急にどうしたんです？
シュエンに私たちみんな殺される。
え？マクスウェル見た？
Oh, all right. Let me sit up on my chair.
みんなラプラスを見て喜んでるわ。プロジェクトは大成功ね。あともう2人くらい作って舞台にできれば誰も私に逆らおうとしなくなるでしょ。シュン、何よ。どうしたのよ。私を呼んでおいてそんな顔。
What, like some sort of monster?
正直に答えて。何よ。あなた、あの薬どう使ったの？何のことよ。2回目のボディ生成を失敗させた薬、私が持ってきてあなたに渡したもの、あれどう使ったの？どう使ったって言ったでしょ。 理事会の連中を脅すのに。
脅すために飲ませたの？理事会の役員たちに。
何言ってるのよ。私がどうやってそんなことを。
Plausible deniability.
だからどっちなのよ。
マクスウェル。
ニュースになってた。全身やけどで死んだ役員。あれに全く関わってないって言い切れる？
当然でしょ。
Sound of someone's voice comes out from the
い
pen.
いことを教わったわ。どうやったら証拠を残さずに人を溶かしてしまえるのか。教わったことは使わせてもらわないとね。
これでも関係ないって。
マクスウェル。
どうしちゃったの？なんでそんなことしたの？あんなものを誰かに飲ませるなんて。どういう薬か分かってるくせになんでそんなひどいこと。
先にやったのはあいつらの方じゃない。
So this is, I'm gonna say, this is where the very gray perspective kind of comes in, because I feel I'm not too much on one side. I can understand Siwon's side, but I understand Maxwell as well. I'm gonna let them talk a little bit more before I discuss this part.
どうすればよかったっていうのよ。こっちが先に潰さなきゃあいつらはこの先も私のものに手を出し続けるじゃない。
PTSD
プ
will
ロ
do
ジェク
that.
トを台無しにしようとした上にお前も研究所ごと殺されかけたのよ。ラプラスがいなきゃお前はとっくに死んでたって分かってるの。それでも私は黙ってろって。
シュン。
私はもう奪われたくないのよ。大事なもの全部なくしてなくしかないなんて嫌なのよ。
だからって人を殺していいわけないでしょ
So
うが。
okay, I'm gonna let it, because I think Maxwell's gonna talk about it
自分
some.
のものを奪われそうだからって大切なものが危ないからってそういう道は選んじゃいけないんだよ。自分が惨めだからって誰もがそんな選択をするわけじゃないの。他の方法を探すの。それだけは選んじゃダメ。
簡単なことだと思ってるの。あいつらがどういうやつらか分かってる。手段を選ばず潰そうとしてきたのよ。こっちがやられたぐらい、いやそれ以上の力でねじ伏せないと。私もお前もラプラスだって何されるのか分からないのよ。殺そうとしてくるのよ。お父様みたいに踏み潰してやらないと。これからも私をバカにして何もかも台無しにしようとするの。だから私だって仕方なく。
他の方法は試したの？
え？
まだ全部ただの思い込みでしょ。勝手にそうなるって決めつけてるだけじゃないの。
だったら私に何ができるっていうのよ。
あなたはもう休憩室で隠れて泣いてた力のない子供じゃないの。ミシリスの CEO なんだから。薬をすり替えて飲ませられるような力があるんでしょ。圧力をかけて素直に法律で裁かれるようにすることだってできたはずじゃない。時間や労力は必要だろうけど間違いなく。
So the issue here, there's a lot. Okay, before I lose my thoughts and forget, there's actually a lot going on here, right? So she's gonna talk about it in a bit, but what Maxwell didn't want for Siwon is for her to be like her father, right? And what's interesting is, yeah, the very first thing that Siwon thought to do and like to retaliate against the board, right? So last stream, what happened was they it wasn't pills, right? They injected the Nikkes who were her star players, we'll call them, right? Who were set to be part of the Matsu squad. The thing that made their body temperature, like if their body temperature rises above a certain point, then they explode, they die, they melt, right? And it was to show that Siwon was not fit to be CEO, right? the fact that they, you know, they would go as far as they did to, you know, drag her down is, you know, is problematic in itself. And the first thing that she did, the first thing she thought of doing was contacting Jian, right? Jian is like the, you know, one of the last, she's one of the most inhumane characters, one of the more inhumane characters in all of Nikke, and devised a plan together. And they said, instead of going like, you know, in my mind, when this was going on, you have the proof right there, right? But they also had plausible deniability. There's no way to link them with the injections or the pills or whatever that they had that destroyed her project, because they also burned her lab and destroyed any other evidence that could have linked them, I'm sure. But she didn't have hard proof. They might have, you know, seen her show that, hey, I know what this is and I know what you did, I just can't prove it yet. But they knew that they were safe as long as there was nothing linking them to that. And so the first thing that Siwon thought of was to kill them back, right? Threaten them. She didn't directly kill them, right? Technically. She had someone else tamper with their medications to give them the exact same thing that they gave her Nikke's. And so if they stepped out in the sun, maybe if they got sick, they would have met the same fate those Nikke's did, right? And she, just like them, hands up, you know, I didn't do anything. And that's technically the truth, but technically, of course, not really. And Maxwell's problem with this is that, yeah, that was the first thing you did. You didn't even try anything else. You didn't try any of the non-violent routes. You didn't have to go with like, what's the term? I was thinking about it's like a Fallout. What was it? Fallout 4 trophy? Was it? This is gonna bother me if I don't find it. What was it? Was it the nuclear solution? Yeah. So, you know, and then the thing is, right? The thing is, so to Siwon's defense a little bit, is that if you think sending them to jail one by one, and it only works with linking individuals and not a group to each thing, right? The amount of time that it would have taken, the amount of evidence and proof that you would have needed in order for that to work. And do you think that if you send one or two to jail, that all of them are going to change? That all of them are going to think, oh, you know, at that point, it's like, well, just don't get caught. And we still have the ability to drag her down. Truthfully, a lot of people will take the same action as Siwon. I would say like 75-80% maybe, and especially in the world of Nikke, right? The thing is, the reason why Maxwell's perception is a lot different is because she's experienced her father and she's experienced Jian, right? Jian was never like in control of Maxwell. Like she wasn't above Maxwell in the sense of like that was her boss or anything, but she knows what kind of monster Siwon's father is and how cold he is, not even just to like everyone surround like under him, but his own family, right? He doesn't call his own children by their names. It's the big one or the little one. And even while he understands that Jian is far removed from humanity, he knew that Siwon was too human. And it's like she's kind of already like, it's right there, right? If now, okay, let's put this in lesser terms, and it's still like I don't think anyone's decision would change, right? And this is like an easy way to put it, right? If you're in a playground and you're 4 years old and a big 6th grader body checks you, right? And he pushes you on the ground. Naturally, the easiest thing to do, I mean, obviously cry, right? But if you're a vengeful spirit, it's super easy and convenient to get up and push him back, right? That's like the most natural course that you would think someone would do. If somebody walks up into your face, punches you dead in your jaw, what are you gonna do? Go tell the law he hit me, right? What do they do? Shrug their shoulders. And by the time you find somebody who's going to help you, need evidence. Like, what are you gonna say? You can say somebody punched you, right? If nobody's out the cameras, nobody's there to witness it, nobody's gonna take your side. He can be like, I didn't touch him. He's got me mistaken for somebody else. There's nothing linking you to that crime. You know, like, who cares? Punch him back. The easiest thing to do if somebody walks up to you, punches you right in the throat. You just get up and punch him back, right? That's like the natural order. That would be like the natural progression. And this is no different from that. Obviously it's up, you know, ramped up by 11. And that's why it's like, I think a lot of people would actually side with Siwon or take the same course of action, right? But not to sound a little cheesy or a little corny, right? It does take the bigger person to be like, all right, you know, go to the law, do it through the natural processes, right? Do it and make sure that the air quotes never do it again. But technically, she's also making sure they don't ever do it again, right? It's more of a difference in personality, I'd say. But because like Maxwell has kind of experienced her father, it's kind of pushed her towards that. And Maxwell's just not a evil. She's not like a mean person. She's sharp-tongued, right? But she's not like, you know, she doesn't like incite violence. You hear someone try punching you, they're missing quite a mystery, you know? And that's why it's like, it's easy to go into that mindset, right? It's easy because it's right there. It's right in front of you. And that's why it's like, it is technically murder, right? She tampered with their medications. And while she didn't directly do it, she had a hand. It was her directive, right? She ordered whomsoever under her to do that, right? And it could have been with the help of Jian. Jian probably could have did that with ease. So it's why is violence the first thing that she thought of, especially in this situation? And it's easy to say, if somebody comes into your home, shoots your family member, right? The thing for Siwon, right? It wasn't just like her experiment and all this stuff at risk. She nearly killed Laplace and nearly killed Maxwell, who's been with her since the dawn of time for her. Since Siwon was a little girl, right? And Maxwell was trying, Maxwell was trying her hardest to prevent Siwon from becoming a monster, right? From becoming just like her dad. And it's easier said than done, right? Easier said than done. To be like, hey, why choose violence first? Why not do the natural course of action? No, take them into the law, just go through the judicial system. It's just not, from Siwon's defense, it's not easy to just be like, again, you gotta find the evidence, especially with something as not ridiculous, but something as big as this, right? So, it's funny. It's really funny that this is split between Monster A and Monster B, because this is only half the monster Siwon is. And realistically, you can say that she's justified in her actions, but she still killed somebody, right? Would you look at someone the same who had a hand in killing somebody, even if you feel like they were justified? If you said some guy came up and killed your friend's family member, and then they went up and did the same thing to them, you can applaud them, right? In the theater setting, you can be like, yeah, in a movie like John Wick, right? You can say, he's being painted as the hero and this is clearly the villain. But no one really thinks about just how serious it is to kill somebody, right? Like, do you think it's justified in killing? The killing shouldn't be justified no matter what the scenario is. If somebody's still painted as the hero, right? if somebody's like, if a movie's painting someone as the protagonist and they're killing out of revenge, and we feel the anger that they feel, like they show us just what they've gone through. Killing, you know, it's still killing, right? There in front of me, they missing? You're right, my fault. And I feel like a lot of times, because people feel like things like that are justified, they kind of forget the notion of like, hey, killing is bad. Killing is only bad in these circumstances. It's not a good position. It shouldn't be a good position. And you know, it goes deep, right? I'm hoping I explain it the way that I think about it, but I think the big takeaway is that I do not think killing should be justified, even if it's like, killing should always be incorrect, and they should not be seen as justified if they have a situation that allows for it, right? Like, yeah, let's not use John Wick, but let's use I want something serious enough that you understand the weight of it, but not so easy to take the side of the person doing the killing, right? Yeah, because like, no matter how you say it, and I feel like I'm not like explaining myself well enough to fully understand, like, it just, if somebody kills your sibling, right, and you're very close to them, and someone witnesses the story, and they, you know, they hope you get revenge and you kill them back, do you think it's like, murder is still murder in the end? It's something that you kind of have to think about over the years. I don't think this is something that is easy to like convert on. Like, this is something I've heavily thought about over the past like 5-7 years, because you really got to think about it. Movies, different, just media, just, it portrays it like it's okay because they did this first, right? They did some horrible things to you, so killing them is okay. But it, you know, it really isn't. And not a single time have I seen a movie or anything kind of showing the weight of like, yeah, you're still killing somebody, right? Because people will resonate with an emotion of like, they did this fucked up thing to me, so naturally it bypasses everything. It's okay because this happened to me. I did nothing wrong, so I'm gonna kill them, and I shouldn't be looked at as a murderer because it's fine, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of hope that there would be some kind of movie, book, manga, anime, whatever, that kind of understands this scenario and fleshes it out better than I can explain it. And in the end, I'm sure that if something foul happens to me, the immediate response isn't the rational, hey, killing is bad. Somebody kills my cat, I'm running at him. I'm running it. And staying in control in the moment is hard. And then maintaining that position, even despite all of that, is harder. Like I said, it's easy to say, but like, yeah. All right, enough about that, right? So, basically, if someone kills somebody important to them, there should be no justification, even if that person is absolutely worse and perceived as a threat. Yes. Actually, you said it far better than I was trying, because like, I was thinking of very extreme examples and I didn't want to have to go that far, because naturally, if I use extreme examples, people are going to side with killing them, right? There's a very clear and easy thing I could say, but people are going to justify the killing because of the aberrant behavior or the obscene behavior that the perpetrator, we'll say, has caused. But it's not going to help my case, because people are going to look at it as like, oh, you're defending this. And it's like, no, we're not defending the action of the individual who did something heinous. But do you think that killing suddenly killing is okay because we're doing it this way? And I think that's something that people don't really think about, right? And Look, Run of the Fade is okay. No, yeah, no, hey, Run of the Fade is, that's, do that. But killing means so much more. Like, do you understand what it means to really take a life? To stop someone's ability to live? Like, you don't think about it in the moment because a lot of people are overrun by emotion, but like, the resolve and just what it means. Everything that the person accumulates to, everything that the person is up until that moment is just gone. And it just, I want to especially point out the part that you say, the part where they're perceived as a threat to yourself or even to society. That is the biggest and most important part of the discussion that I want to, like I'm saying here. I've thought about this for a long time, but I've never had the platform to really talk about it or have a scenario to really discuss it. And especially in the world of Nikke, where the population is so much less because they were already killed off by raptures, and then you have another subset of humans who are kind of pushed towards the outside, the outskirts, right? And then it's rough living. They're eating artificial food. They're like living underneath this fake dome, right? That it's already stressful as it is. And while Maxwell's personality is, I'm surprised, survived, especially in this climate, for as long as it did, it's almost unrealistic. It's almost unrealistic because like it's obviously something that can happen, right? People can maintain this position even after all this time, but like the gravity of actually taking a life because you were wronged or someone else was wronged, even to the most extreme degree, right? The snickering behind your back after doing such things, right? Them thinking, oh, they got away with it. They must think things, shit is nice, right? They think shit is sweet. But like, you cannot undo that action. Once you've done it, that's it. You've done it, and you ideally you can't come back. You don't just become the person. Like, you don't go back to the person you were before you murdered somebody. And I think it's very grating to discuss it because it's like running fingernails on a chalkboard, because it's been so ingrained in me, at least growing up. All these heroes, all these good guys, we'll say, all these protagonists, and that's why. And like, why do you think they have it named as such? It's very few media where the protagonist is shown to be an evil person. So we're going to talk about some literary devices here, right? And I don't think that's the right word, but it's like a protagonist is not always good, and even the protagonist in a lot of media is shown to not do good things, right? They're always usually shown in action flicks, right? They're doing some very bad things, but it's justified because they're the protagonists, right? They're the good, air quotes, good guy. And that's just years of that indoctrination a little bit. And you wouldn't question it, right? It's been ingrained. But the second you think about it, it's like, well, okay. You wouldn't apply that same negative feeling of like killing and murdering someone if you feel it's justified. And that's when the lines get blurred and you cross over, right? Well, at that point, more things become more justified. Like it's a slow. I don't know if I'd go as far as doing the slippery slope thing, but like now the justification lies with you, the individual, instead of like, like if somebody takes something into their, I'm really hoping I explain this properly. Like if somebody takes something into their own hands, the definition of what's okay now, like it goes from like a public kind of like agreed upon idea of what's wrong to like, oh, it's bad to me now. And when something is only bad to you, the justification, it shifts. It's not like the public perception, the public idea of what's bad. It's only your definition of what's bad. And then your definition of what's bad doesn't coincide with what everyone else believes is bad. You see hopefully where I'm getting at? So, all right, it could be a much more fleshed out discussion, but I I didn't prepare a speech or do like a lot of research, but it's just been something I've always thought about, and I've just never had the ability to talk about. But it's hopefully something you guys think about too a little bit. And this is Monster A, by the way. There's another side to this, right? So, and this goes back, right? She said I had no other choice, and she didn't even entertain other options. So it's like, no, she didn't. She, you know, you didn't really do this because you had no choice. Yeah, okay, so she kind of says what I was thinking. Never meet your heroes, a little bit. Nagata Villain Saga would be the perfect example for you to discuss. Yeah, I maybe I need to watch it then. A lot of people have been saying it's good. It didn't look like it'd be my type of anime, but all right. You know that is a part of the environment you grew up. But like, yeah, okay, like you've seen where I live. So like you could understand it's like that would be the natural idea, right? That'd be like the natural course of events to believe in that. I just kind of pulled something in my arm and that hurts. I did like I don't know how to describe the action, but like I did something like you get it though. It's like naturally, and that's the thing, not even just my environment, but your environment, everyone else's environment, the parents, what your parents know, what their understanding and what their definition of justified good and all this kind of stuff is, right? How they raise you to believe certain things, how the people around you shape the things you believe, and like how the adults in your life influence the things that you like. Everything plays a part in this. The environment absolutely is a huge deal in a lot of this. People don't always come to like conclusions, or they don't think about a lot of this because there's just no reason to. You have to do a lot of exploration of your mind and just perceive different ideas differently, look at different perspectives, and people just don't naturally do that. There's so many distractions, right? You have work, school, you've got your life. There's so many different things that gets in the way, and it's not something that people will just naturally come to think about. Don't get too excited, mess up your funny bone. Might be a little too late. First season you might not like, you won't understand the vision. When I see the second season, that might be something I do this weekend, honestly. I might dip my toes, I might give it a sniff. But yeah, this thing that Maxwell says here, you decided it was the easiest, most efficient method, and honestly that's what a lot of people, you know, fall into. And at this point I don't know if I would say it's wrong. That's why it's like I understand both sides here. Is it wrong? You got the job done, but it's not like morality is it's up to you to decide, right? I can't put my morality on you. You know, different minds, different, like, how do I say, experiences, and like growing up, different experiences, right, that shape that idea of what morality is or what it should be. What about Jigoku Shoujo? I haven't seen Hellgirl in so long, so I can't remember like the finer details. I do remember some of the stuff, but not the things that would be a part of this discussion, this conversation. Ooh, Cena here. Do you know who kills people because it's efficient? Ooh. Yeah, and the thing is, it kind of wraps what I was saying, right? Once you become a monster, you can't just not be one, right? And I think this kind of encapsulates it better. Monster A also. Once you murder someone, once you killed somebody, you cannot come back to humanity. And that's just my perspective on it, right? That's my understanding. Maybe also look up No Longer Human, by the way. You don't remember? I haven't seen Hellgirl in almost like 15 years. Now, please give me some grievances here. Give me some grace. Damn, I'm old. I can't believe you said that. You're older than me. Chat, don't let her gaslight you. And the thing is, also, from Suin's perspective, there may not have been an opportunity for her to realize just how far she's gone, right? Think back at the little girl who did not like the course of action a lot of the adults in her lives have taken, right? She did not like Jian. Remember when... I'm gonna hold. Her father is the best example, right? He was always cold to his children. This may come as a shock to her, but if you don't have the time to internalize the actions that you're taking, right? Sometimes you only have a window to take certain decisions, to make certain decisions. And in that time, you're already moving on to the next project or the next idea, the next thing that's distracting you. And here, think about every single time that Maxwell has talked to Siwon about these things. You remember how fast Siwon always changed the subject or trying to push a different thing going to try to move Maxwell in a different direction. And so she heard what Maxwell was saying, but she never listened to her, right? And I did make a note of every time she kind of brushed past a lot of the stuff that Maxwell was telling her and how she just didn't internalize any of it. And you notice how she was only stuck on the part where she was praising her for doing a good job, but she didn't know the other half of it. Not old enough? Alright. And this also goes back to what Maxwell said too. Remember how she was like, just because somebody had a bad day doesn't mean that they take how I say the nuclear option. And you remember how I was saying Siwon just never took responsibility. She always put the blame on someone else whenever something happened. Remember her and Maxwell got into the argument and she was like, that's why you were a liar and that's why you abandoned me all those time, all those years ago with the inauguration. And she was still holding on to that. And she put it on Maxwell. It was because you said this that I said it. It's because you stayed to talk to me, stayed to argue about it is why I said it. She never was like, I'm sorry. I'm the one who said this. I'm the one who did all of this. And here, an analysis of Siwon. This is absolutely true. But it's like the way you go about it, the way you deal with all the problems. She took the nuclear option every time. Only now, actually. The check timeout. Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing too, one last thing. I want you guys always think about the actions that you perform in your day to day. There are actions, and I tell myself this, but I also tell family members, whenever I get into heated discussions, because I can remain myself in the moment, but I know how easily it is for other people to lose themselves. And I always tell them, I always make a point to mention, think about the actions that you're taking, right? Once you do something, you can never undo it. You can never take it back. If you say something, you can never unsay it. If you do something, you can never undo it. So it's like, think about it, and honestly, that's exactly what shapes the kind of person that you are. Being aware of these things. Because once you do an action, well, I'm not going to say that you are, as, what was it? Andrew Ryan who said it? Bioshock 1? A human is what? Accumulation of their choices. And that is absolutely true, right? The choices that you make shape exactly who you are. And again, you can't undo something. Or lack of action? Yeah. I do, as you can see, you're not in jail. Unfortunately, we live in America, so that doesn't mean a lot. But I guess that's not, don't do that. That's not true. Just because you don't get caught doesn't make the action good or justifiable either, by the way. But it depends on your definition of what morality is, right? Where is your black and white? Where's your gray? Where's the line being drawn? it's different for a lot of people.
それもわからないっていうの？
じゃあ私が全部奪われて何もかも失って何もできないバカのままでいればよかったって言いたいの？
そんなこと。
じゃあ何よ、私に何をどうしろって言うのよ。
本当に何も後悔してないっていう気？
No, she does not.
人の命を奪ってるんだよ。シュエン、あなたは人を殺したの。
言葉に気をつけなさいよ。私が直接何かしたわけでもないのに。
指示を出すのだって同じことだよ。
違うわ。私は殺せなんて言ってない。ただ薬を飲ませるように言っただけ。それが人殺しになるっていうの？
You see? Now she doesn't see it as that she killed somebody. That's where the line, and that's what I was saying earlier, because it's like when the individual has power to say what gives them the justification and to perform an action, the line gets pushed. And for Suen, she doesn't see it as her fault. She doesn't see it as like she had any hand in the death of somebody.
忠告だってしてあげたのに、熱には注意しなさいって。
And I think this is a very solid example of how it gets out of hand very quickly.
話を聞いていなかったのはあいつらの方でしょ？あっちが自分で引き金を引いただけよ。
Not too less for another story. What that means? Stay in school? Yeah. Might be something that happened in high school for you? Oh. And this is, like I said, so this is exactly what she was preventing her from being, but we're gonna get the flashback now.
それがミシリスに生まれるということだ。生まれたものは怪物か、なり損ないのどちらか。あれは違うとでも思いたいのか。ほう。果たしてこの先も同じことが言えるか見ものだな。お前があれのそばを離れないつもりなら、いずれ私の言葉の意味を思い知る。
結局正しかったんだ。あなたもミシリスの怪物だった。
It really sets in for Maxwell at this point.
マックスウィル。
She slams down her letter of resignation.
お前どういうこと？
They don't care if that man is evil. They do a good job of writing villains in this game. I don't know. For me, it's still Mustang. Mustang has that man got it so far. But Siwon's father is very, very, very like right there. And May.
退職届なんて私から離れるつもり？
あなたがしたことの重さを分かって少しでも後悔してるようならそのまま持ち帰ろうと思ってた。
Who wants to work for another monster, really? Especially one like this.
でも違った。あなたは少しも悪いことだ。
And you notice she always tried to justify her actions, and the line got pushed further away, right?
これ以上壊れていくところは見てられない。あなたも言ったでしょ。私はあなたの人生を全部見てきた。その通りだよ。いつもあなたは私のところにいたから。気の毒にも思ったし、誇らしくも思ったし、立派になったって思ってた。ミシリスっていう怪物の檻の中で人間らしく生きようと。
And that's also what we're talking about. Environment. Siwon became a product of her environment a little bit, but you could say her bloodline too. Her father definitely pushed her to be this too.
人生かけて付き合ってたの。けど今はもう違う。
When an enabler realizes it.
人として生きようとして
The thing about Maxwell though, she didn't really. She was trying to get Siwon to be more or less of a monster rather. And actually, you can almost argue it's actually because of Maxwell that she became this too. If Maxwell's life wasn't in danger, I mean, also pushing the blame a bit, right? She wouldn't have become this.
人生かけて見てきた子が怪物になり果てるところなんて見てられないの。それだけは見たくない。
マックスウェル。
この話外に出すつもりはないから出したってどうせ今のあなたの身に消せるし。
Yeah, she lived her life for it too, though. That's unfortunate.
でもね、シュエン、罪を犯せばいつか代償を払うことになるんだよ。今すぐじゃなくても必ず。だから引き返せるうちに止まって。これ以上怪物になろうとしないで。
マックスウェル。
じゃあね、シュエン。
マックスウェル。
Ooh, I felt that pain. With a headset on, I can feel it. It is just so different.
思い切り喜ばないといけないときになぜそんな顔しているのですか？望みはすべて叶ったでしょ。プロジェクトは成功した。理事会の連中は全員おとなしくなった。
Would you say Max was trying? She was. She spent, yeah. So Maxwell spent her whole life trying to make her understand. But I think her understanding of what a monster is was not developed enough. So in the end, Siwon ended up becoming the very thing Maxwell wanted to save her from. And here we are. That sounded terrible. That was Siwon. She was going through it.
メティス計画の死亡者も倍に増えて、もう2人目の候補も決まったと聞いています。名前は何ですか？
Is Drake. When they said she's quite eccentric, I was like, yeah, that's Drake. All right.
エネルギーへの適応力が高くて、感知能力に素質があるとか。
But also this line here is also this tells you that this is Drake because this is what Drake's abilities are.
第1号では見送ったセンサー機能の使いどころが
Sound like Batman
見つか
scene
っ
where
たよ
Harvey
うで
becomes
すね。
Two-Face. Sounds terrible.
舞台としての相性も結構良さそうですし。
出て行って今はお前と話をする気分じゃないの。
あら、もしかして喧嘩ですか？
いいから出てって。
こんな時にそんな顔をしているということは、2人のうちどちらかしかありませんね。もう片方は言い争いのしようがないほどヒーロー一直線の方ですし。
You wanted a full-blown cry to someone, a child who's not going to Disneyland? I thought I was going to get something like that too. But I think I like their approach though. It's like silent scream.
マックスウェルさんでしょ。
出てけって言ったのが聞こえなかった。
感づかれたみたいですね。あの薬で私たちが何をしたか。それで愛想をつかされた。
なんでそれを。まさかお前が話したの？
まさか。私も共犯ですし、言えるはずがありません。
That's okay, I understand.
推測できないことではないでしょう。知らない人が見たら親だと勘違いするぐらいあなたのことを可愛がっていましたから。
I partially agree. This is like 80% of the way agree. I like how they did it, but honestly, yeah, I would have expected like her like destroying the lab or her office and then like just screams of agony almost as if someone was pouring acid on her.
それほどの人に見捨てられるようなことなんて他に思いつきません。あの人にとって人として許せない線を越えてしまったのでしょうね。昔からうちのチーフエンジニアとは思えない。
Yeah, that's why it's like, especially here, especially at Missilus too. Missilus, in the current age, because now we're at the point where this is after this is after Hansen took over. So Mustang was vile, right? But this was vile, like Enmei was vile for Missilus, and the Nikke, when you turn a person into a Nikke, it's vile in a different sense, right? I guess you could say that there's two sides of the morally bankrupt with Mustang and Enmei, and like Missilus as a whole. Oh, this is what spurs on the next part. You don't want to let go of her, do you? You don't want to let her go, do you? She's like the devil on the shoulder right now, because she's convincing her. It's like she doesn't understand you, not that Siwon doesn't understand Maxwell. It's a very, and then this is like I always talk about it, right? The way things are worded very much matters, and the writers know this. They wrote it in this way to convince Siwon that she wasn't wrong for what she was doing. It's not. Jian makes it a note of saying, "Oh, Maxwell didn't understand you," but you know, and she doesn't say like, "Hey, you don't understand Maxwell." If only I meet you instead. I'm okay with the choice. It's interesting, right? Aigis makes the most sense because Aigis fits with like Nikke's as a whole. I'm surprised. I don't know. I'm surprised at Yukiko of all things, but I guess it makes sense because she's the only one who has like ranged attacks. That makes sense. I mean, I was gonna say Naoto, but like Naoto has a gun, so like that makes sense too. But is it Konohana Sakuya, right? Lala being the maid. And it's interesting that Jian brings this up because this was Jian's doing. There's a choice here.
やっと片付いた。さすがに多いね。まあそれだけ長く働いてたってことか。これもだいぶ使い古しになっちゃったな。ここで主演が。時が経つのはあっという間だね。こんな形で物別れになっていいのかな。そばにいたままで心を入れ替えさせようとした方が。これでいいんだ。あれだけはっきり冷めたんだし、私が消えれば自分が間違えてたかもって少しは考えてくれるはず。あれ以上になる前にこうでもしないと。今はそばにラプラスもいるし大丈夫。
I'm not gonna say nothing. It's not your fault you left your pet unattended. Your sibling that you had to go finish your nails, it was their fault for not knowing how important. Yeah, you see? It's that kind of mindset that Siwon has too.
いつか本当に追い詰められた時、また手を貸してあげる。
And even after all of this, she still wanted to help her.
これでいいんだよ。これが正しい。誰？アポなんてなかったはずだけど、メティス研究所の方で引き継ぎ忘れがあったかな。はいはい、 今行きますって。
A letter lies out in the hallway.
書き置き？もしかして主演かな。
There was a bomb. The bomb had gone off beneath her feet the moment she stepped into the hallway. Tries to move her head. Her head moves, but only a little. Man. Imagine thinking about this. She knows if she falls asleep again, she won't wake up.
マクスウェル。
There was a choice that was made.
幸い声は出るね。よかった。
And personally, it gets... Yeah.
何が良かったのよ。体がこんなことになってるのに。
私どうなったの？隠さなくていいよ。首から下感覚が全くないって。
下半身が全部
The
吹き飛ん
entire lower body's gone.
上半身もほとんどダメだって。
Most of your upper body's mangled.
意識が戻ったら奇跡だって。
They said you opening your eyes at all was a miracle.
やっぱり目を閉じたら終わりそうだね。シュエン、もしかしてあなた。
何？
She was gonna ask, was it you? Was this your doing? She chooses to just believe in her.
私が平気ってこうやってあなたの顔見ていけるなら十分幸せでしょ。
死なせないわよ。私が死なせない。ニケになりなさい、マクスウェル。お前がメティスに入りさえすれば部隊の中にエンジニアも揃うし、メティスはヒーローとしてさらに活躍できるはずよ。私たちのプロジェクトはもっと大きな成果を上げられるんだから。
So, remember how I made a note of highlighting every single time Maxwell said how she absolutely hated the idea of being a Nikke, and how if she became a Nikke, she just wouldn't be the same at all.
そしたら私が怪物にならないようにずっと近くで見てられるでしょ。
And this is interesting. It's interesting because this is a very basic manipulative behavior, right? She's putting a responsibility on her to make sure that she who still refuses to take responsibility for her actions, to not become the evil. It's one of those things where it's like, it's, I don't know if I call it subtle, but it's not your typical in-your-face manipulation. I mean, I think so, but like, I guess I don't know. I guess to the average person it may not be, but it's like, how do I explain this? She's telling Maxwell what she wants to hear in a way that, you who knows that I'll become a monster, it's okay because you'll be able to stop me from doing that, right? She's like putting the responsibility on Maxwell, but telling her, hey, I don't want to be a monster because I want you to be there next to me to prevent that. It's very choice on the wording, you see, and it's like, maybe I don't think it's as like it's not like subtle or anything, but I personally just don't think it's as obvious as it may seem, but maybe it is. But like, obviously this is incredibly selfish, right? This idea. I blur your body so you... Yes, and yeah, she about to force her to become a Nikke against her will. So Chico, I'm gonna read off what I said on Discord, but now, just wait a second. Both of you, actually, don't look at it yet because you're gonna get more context behind all of it. It's a desperate manipulation here, you know. You can hear it, right? The way she says no. Like, she's just terrified almost. But remember, with Sewin, she hears, but she doesn't listen. She has a very firm and adamant stance on this. And what's important to this is the same thing as I was saying before about the morality bit, but like, her definition of what she considers to be an individual is up to her, right? It shouldn't be the perception or the idea of what someone else believes it to be pushed on to her. If Maxwell tells you that if she becomes a Nikke, she won't be the same person, that is exactly how she perceives it, and that is exactly what it will be. And she also refers to it as a thing too, and I made note of that too. I mentioned that specifically, right? So ironically, even though I said what I just said, right? She hears but doesn't listen. Oh, she listened. She listened for that, and that's what makes this particularly more, I was gonna say more frightening, but a lot worse than what it normally would be. No. I'm gonna just read this out loud. It's the same for you, right? You'd rather become a Nikke and be by my side than die, wouldn't you?
そうすればずっと一緒にいられるのよ。ニケは死なないもの。私のそばにいて。私もっと頑張るから。もう二度とあんな選択はしないから。
This part reminds me of like the toxic relationship of trying to trap somebody in a relationship. This is the abusive cycle, by the way. This, if you guys have not seen this firsthand, I've seen it plenty of times. When you're in an abusive relationship, these are the exact lines you'll see. I'll change, I'll do better. And as desperate and as like, not innocent, but as fragile as they sound, they do not believe them. The person that they've shown you to be is the exact same person they'll always be, right? People can change, of course, but there are certain parts of an individual that will not. And unfortunately, Sewin has not. She has been consistent. The thing about Sewin, from this point, from the point back when she became an adult, so the point all the way into the current part of the story, she has been consistent. This level of desperation, and I pray that none of you guys will ever be in an abusive relationship, but I pray this line does not work on you. Remember, an abusive relationship and an abuser in that relationship will isolate you from your friends and family. They'll make it so that there's no one there to help you because they're tired of your shit, right? They're tired of you. Everyone else sees this shit, and it's as plain as day and is the most obvious thing, but do not listen or believe when someone is like this and they're desperately clinging to you in this way and trying to convince you, make you believe I'll do better, I'll be better. And it's like, trust your gut, damn it. This is what I'm not changing, you're right. That's what happens to you? That's what happened to you. Yeah. They don't change, they modify. Yeah, and in the end, they're still the same person, right? She's not. And so here, it's another thing that I just, I realize, and I can verbalize it. Remember, Enmei always kept affection out of Sewin's reach. Meanwhile, Maxwell always gave her that. So you can say Sewin has daddy issues, right? I guess you can say that, right? But like, he's gone and he's stolen every bit of like affection, anything positive that he could have given Sewin. He snatched that away the second he disappeared. He never gave it to her. He never, he just never gave it to her. And Maxwell, who wanted to treat her as human as possible, had always poured her with affection. Now, since the source of her affection is at risk of disappearing forever, she's clinging hard to it. She refuses to let go of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maxwell jokingly says, I wish I never set foot in that lab or in that break room. I mentioned that too. I don't know what stream. I think that was the second stream, but to give her a reason to come back. Maxwell clenches her teeth. Can't say it is. Yeah. Personally, I think that point has already been crossed.
行かないと。初めて会った時覚えてる？休憩室で泣いてたよね。
なんで今さらそんな話を。
泣いてた理由覚えてる？
忘れるわけないでしょ。ジエンが勝手にララを。
Goes back to the maid. This is what I was gonna say, and I stopped myself. When Jian was like convincing Suen that it was Maxwell's fault, rather that she didn't try to understand Suen instead, and how she didn't have humanity, and when she didn't understand what she did was wrong. So let's go back, right? Jian turned Suen's maid into a Nikke without her permission. So Enmei got her killed to try and push Suen to become more of a monster. Jian thought she was helping her because she always, she saw she was always crying and sad without her there. And she's like, I'll just turn into a Nikke without anyone's consent. She didn't ask Lala if she wanted to be turned into a Nikke. She just decided to do it. And she wiped her memories. So she didn't even remember Suen in the first place. Suen was angry about the decision. Jian didn't understand what was wrong. Jian has already crossed that point back then. And I think I did make a note of it too, of how upset, right, Suen was that she would even consider something like that. I think her wounds already made her a monster, yeah. Remember how you cried about your dad? Would have told you that love me more. Oh, okay. You're gonna have a better child, but won't know of your existence. My God. But yeah, I know, Jesus. And you know what? I think this perfectly ties into what I was talking about earlier about how when murder is justified, people don't think about it as a negative or a bad thing when they're in the moment, right? So now that Suen's in the moment, do you think she's going to consider what she's doing is wrong? A split-second decision like this isn't going to be enough to convince somebody about why this is wrong. You need to internalize that. You need to marinate in that idea and make your decision or understanding of what that means. And for me, it took some years. And some people, yeah, it could take as little as like a few days to weeks. But like understanding the gravity of like, it's still wrong to kill even if you feel it's justified. And it's not easy to undo that mindset, especially if you've been indoctrinated with that over years and years, decades. And for Suen, right, this idea, it was easy for her to come to this conclusion. As Maxwell had said, this is within arm's reach. It's convenient. Everything she has left, Maxwell makes Suen's gaze. Absolutely, she would. I wish that didn't go so fast. Let's just... And you realize... She had to remind her, when I die, Maxwell is dead. The Maxwell that you know right now will no longer exist. Will you still make me a Nikke despite all that? And then you see how she goes into this frantic face and starts crying. Suen nods as she cries, which is insane. This is when I got so angry, because it was like this was a level of frustration that I just didn't know existed, because it's like it
がいない世界なんて想像できないのよ。
Is he about to make her Nikke anyways? Yeah.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい、マクスウェル。
Imagine somebody does something to you that you clearly and definitely do not want. They don't stop what they're doing. They don't consider what you feel. They just say, I'm sorry, and continue the action anyways. Oh my fuck. Now, you can equate this to many different things, which I'm just not going to have a discussion about this on stream. Right? The autonomy, what I will say though, to equate to it though, the autonomy of somebody being ripped away and somebody else having control of it without any of your consent. She stole Maxwell's autonomy. So remember, Gian said, you gonna let her go or do you want her to stay with you forever? She had a decision back then to not go through with this, and she did it anyways. Maxwell has a very clear stance of what it means to become a Nikke and how she does not want that, and she cannot consent. She is in a position where she straight up cannot consent, and Suin is taking her autonomy anyways and doing what she wants. Consent just doesn't even matter at this point.
私のためにニッケに
Man, I closed my eyes a long time ago. As long as there's a piece of you inside it, I don't care. The sorry in all caps, yeah. And the worst part about that is, in some media, that line would sound like a poetic, sweet, and beautiful thing. But when you take the layers of it apart and you look at it for what it is an incredibly selfish, monstrous action by the party who's doing this, right?
そっか、結局あなたは怪物になるって結局私を殺すって。
マクスウェル。
けど忘れないで、それで生き返らせたって。あなたの知ってるマクスウェルは一生取り戻せない。
Music doesn't help. Maxwell closes her eyes.
そう、それがあなたの選択なら仕方ない。
仕方ない。
だから私はあなたに傷を残す方を選ぶ。一生苦しめる傷になるとしてもあなたを怪物にはさせない。
So Maxwell has already passed that point,
私の姿が決して目を背けられない後悔になるように。
Maxwell also made a choice here.
その苦しみこそあなたが人間だという証拠になるは
Oh,
ず。
saw that line is sinister. No right-minded person would want that person to be enduring pain or emptiness. Yeah. Yeah.
ごめんなさい。
さよなら、シュエン。私の生意気なちびっこ。
That is tragic. Oh, man. That afternoon, a second Nikke is added to the Mata squad. Her name is Maxwell. She is a mechanic Nikke and former researcher with Missilis. There's a distinction here, too. Nikke Maxwell opens her eyes.
おお、シュエン。マクスウェル、私のこと覚えてる？
And so, this was a question I had posed earlier. Like, when I first decided to stream this event, I gotta wait for her to...
何のこと？人間のマクスウェルの記憶？
I had asked. So this goes back to the ship of Theseus. All right. How's current Maxwell? Yeah, this is current Maxwell. This is the Maxwell that was in the game in the very beginning, and this is the Maxwell we're introduced to with Mata Squad when they first showed up in the story. And when we saw this, there were people who went back to like the interactions between Maxwell and Suen, and things were given a lot more context. The people that they've been, or the Nikke, you could say, has not changed. There's a lot of dialogue we just did not get enough background to, right? We thought we understood with the events that we've gotten over the course of the years with them involved, of like their relationship, but we had no idea until this event. The question I had posed, and it goes back to the ship of Theseus, when... With two questions. Hopefully I remember the second one. When you have a ship, right, and this is the ship of Theseus, when you have a ship and over time all of its parts get replaced, and the ship that currently sits is a ship built from all new parts, is it still the same ship? And then the conversation was still, when you take the parts of the old ship that's no longer out on sea and you build it up, is that the ship of Theseus, right? Is that the original ship? Is that the OG, right? That would be the OG. That's still the ship. But is the new ship no longer the ship as well, right? And then the other thing that I discussed, when a person turns into a Nikke, their perception of who they are is up to them, right? And Maxwell has mentioned and said many times, the human version of herself and a Nikke version of herself are two different entities. Whereas we saw when Laplace was a Nikke, when she was a human and then became a Nikke, she was essentially the same person. Some people who convert into Nikkes don't have many changes except for some quirks that... So actually, I think a perfect Nikke to talk about is Mary. So the thing about Nikkes, and what we were told in the very beginning of the game, is that they hold on to a core part of their person and it becomes amplified as a Nikke. So like if it becomes their part of their design. So characters, so like Mast, for example, she likes to sail, like sailing. She going like on ships. It's like she's on the Admire, right? She's a part of a crew. So I'm guessing when she was a human, she loved the idea of exploration and just going out to sea. So that got amplified. They don't essentially lose a part of... They don't lose... part of me wants to say that they don't lose every part of who they are, but they don't remain the same. And some are more drastic than others. So with the Mary situation, right? Mary was doing human trafficking a bit, but what was happening was that she killed... So Mary was a doctor. I can show Mary, and I talked about her, I think, only one time when she was in the summer event. Mary is a doctor in this game, and when she was a human, she intentionally killed people to sell their brains to the black market. And she made some money, but that was what she did. And then what happened before was that one of her subordinates, Pepper, who's also a Nikke, found out what she did. And Pepper pushed Mary down the stairs to kill her, and she did. When Pepper got turned into a Nikke, they erased that memory of her. When Mary got turned into a Nikke, they preserved her memories so that she would remember everything that she did and atone for everything. When I think I did, right? I think I streamed the first summer event, which involved them all. When they're all on the beach playing, just playfully pushing each other around. Pepper had pushed Mary and got a flashback of like when she was human and when she pushed her down the stairs, and she made this face, and I won't forget it. She made a very distraught face, and Mary, who remembers everything, of course, she's still the same, right? And Pepper Pepper wants to save people, so that remained the same. But like that's what I'm saying. So like it goes back to varying degrees of how much Nikke retains the memories of when they were a person. We learned that Anise retains a good, good portion of her life. And some people like Neon got a second chance at life, right? And then you got Rappy, who's not even close to being what she was as a human currently. So Maxwell, with everything that I said, with everything that I just said, the Veritas are killing you. You remember that event? Okay, yeah. So everything that I said, let's go for it and do the rest of this. And then remember, are you asking about human Maxwell's memories?
もちろん引き継いでるけど
But she's purposely doing a thing where there's a distinction between the two.
記憶消去しなかったんでしょ
何よその言い方。人間のマクスウェルなんてお前のことじゃない。
何言ってんの人間のマクスウェルは人間のマクスウェル私は私だから肉体を構成してる物質から体を動かすエネルギーまで全部違うでしょ
She's like, of course this is all different. Like she's saying it like it's the most obvious thing too. But it's simple to say she's making a clear distinction between human Maxwell and Nikke Maxwell. Like they're not even the same thing at all. And she knows that's torturing Siwon because of the decision that she made. Rather, the decision that she took from Maxwell.
それでどうして同じ存在だって言えるの
But like I said, she's making it sound like it's the most obvious thing.
記憶は残ってるでしょ。それでも違うっていうの？
人間の方の記憶は確かに全部あるけどねあなたには研究員として友達だった頃の気持ちを
What I feel isn't so much affection for you as your researcher friend,
作ってもらった感謝の
but
方が大きいか
gratitude
な
towards you as my creator. She's taking away. So that's something I didn't notice the first time. She's also purposely taking away, and she specified affection here. She's purposely taking away the affection that she so craved from her father that Maxwell gave her, and now no one's giving her that affection anymore. As she's separating it, but now she's turning it into gratitude.
それって人間のマクスウェルにはない気持ち
Gratitude is not something human Maxwell would have felt. Affection would have been. She's further separating the two.
なんでそんな言い方するのよ。お前わざとじゃないでしょうね。
Are you upset?
私に怒ってて、それで。
This is a crazy line to say after you did what you did. That's what I found. My eyes widened when I read that the first time. I was like, huh?
わざとそんなことしないって
She is.
もしかして私あなたの基準だと鉄くずだった
You see, this is...
記憶をなくしたわけじゃないけど今の私とは別の誰かって思ってるから確かにあなたにとっては微妙かもね
I need to see something. Very subtle, but...
どうしても気に入らないなら鉄くずって呼んでもらって
My God, why is that happening so
お前は鉄くずなんかじゃないわ。違う。お前が鉄くずなんて。お前を。
You see, she's also trying to change her view on this too. She called anyone a Nikke that's not special scrap metal, and so she's trying to change that part too.
私にできるわけないでしょ。
See when about to wipe her memories, bro. No. So, I'll actually talk about that.
お前はニケだもの。私が作ったニケ。
そうじゃあよかった
え
Ah,
鉄くずじゃなくてニケって呼んでもらえて嬉しいよ
remember that image I said to keep in mind? And then seeing the parallel, seeing this, seeing what Siwon has done, cannot be undone. But she's treating it like it's the first meeting.
これからよろしくね 主演
Yeah, okay, so they say it right here too. For the rest of her life, she will never get the old Maxwell back. Nope. And this is back to present time. Oh, no, not yet, not yet. Yeah. Yeah, it does. That's actually... I like that. I like how it was put. That's exactly how it is, yeah. Yeah, holy... It shows the weight of what it means, right? The Maxwell, she literally killed him with kindness, but at a dash of poison. Yeah. She does this all the way until the current... where we currently are in the story. And remember, the thing that Seoin fought so hard for, the thing that she didn't want more than anything, was to lose everything. The reason this idea flashed in her mind, so remember, when they were doing experiments, and Maxwell told her, like, she wants to die as a human and retire, like, die of old age. And Seoin was thinking to herself, so this won't last forever. No. She was thinking about it way back then. And that's funny because, like, when she was a child, she specifically refused to work with Jian because she did that to her maid. You work together with Jian, the one who killed Lala, and it's like the young her absolutely would not have wanted that, and to see that she turned into this. She could have said no. She could have just let her go. And she puts the blame on Jian and not herself once again. Once again. She lost the purpose. She lost the reasoning as to why she wanted to make this squad. There are several, but she can't even find any of them. And you see, she lost the vision. Remember, the original reason was because she wanted a hero in her life. She always admired them, especially with the environment that she had. She considered her father a villain. She considered Jian a villain. Maxwell, you can almost say, was her only hero. She wanted to do it because she had such a starry-eyed reaction to them, right? Laplace was her crowned achievement because she was exactly what she envisioned a hero to be. And now, the reason that she wanted to make a strong heroic squad in the first place isn't one that pops into her mind when she's searching for an answer. The first thing she thought of was because the board, and I guess everyone else, was saying, yeah, she wasn't fit to be a CEO. That's what she went with. Yeah, I was gonna say that, Chico. Yeah, the crazy thing is, if she let Maxwell live, she would have just met her down the line and still been able to keep in touch. Finally understand the consequence of her actions after blowing up the Virgin, turning it into a sawdust. Yeah, and you know, that's another perfect example. Let's talk about wood. You cannot put wood back into wood once you've ground it down to sawdust. That's it. And this is exactly what Sewin has done. Maxwell is the sawdust, and the wood just doesn't exist anymore. You cannot compile it and put it back into the exact same atoms that it was arranged to originally, right? You cannot just configure it back to how it was. You cannot undo that action. She did it to protect her position. She's just lost the plot, is all. Oh, where she put the rod or the stick in the spokes, and then she fell over. She's just gone. Little old Sewin is gone. And almost you could say that just like Maxwell is gone, Sewin is now gone too. As she looks to justify what she did. God damn it, that happened so quick. I believe she's already gone? Absolutely. So, do you guys remember the scene when little Laplace, who was a human, was clinging onto the arms of a Nikke, who, when she ran into the street for help? This is the exact same pose, but parallel. This is on the other side. So remember Chico when he's like, you gonna get the memory wiped? The thing about Sewin, it's funny because with Wardress Squad, one of her squads, she don't care if they lose their memories, right? With Uni and Mihara, which Mihara did lose her memories, right? But when it comes to Mattis, and it's crazy because like in the earlier chapters, This was years ago. This was like 2 years ago at this point. Maybe 3. When the story chapter happened, so basically, the Nikkes have a thing called nymph in their brains that as the story is right now, no one knows what it actually does, but they know it helps with the Nikkes. And so it keeps the brain safe and allows them to live if something traumatic, something completely traumatic happens to their bodies. And when you take the nymph away, if they die, they will die. So it means that the things that protect them as Nikke, like, sure, they have tougher exterior, right? Their bodies are made out of like more resilient stuff. But if the brain is preserved, especially when the nymph, they can still be saved. But you take that away, they are stronger than a human, but if they die or something happens to the brain, that's it. And what happened in the story is that Laplace, Maxwell, and Drake all got corrupted. And so they discovered that if you remove the nymph, then you can save them. You can remove the corruption. But when you remove the nymph, it means that the next time, they're dead. And the only other way to save them with the nymph is to wipe their memory. And so Suen was doing everything. She was more desperate than she was that we've seen her in this event. Then she was like crawling and crying and like doing everything. She was like on her knees begging that the main character, the MC, would do anything that he can to prevent them from losing their memories. So I don't know if I can find it today. I'll share it on the Discord server. I don't remember what chapter it was, but like she was like groveling, trying to hope that the main character can do everything he can to make sure that they do not lose their memories. And this event taught us just how important that was, or why it was so important for her, because she's still trying to hold on to what she considered her normal, and she didn't want anything to happen to Mattis, as if Laplace had lost her memories of Suen, then she truly would have lost everything, right? Maxwell losing her memories, I mean, obviously she wouldn't want that to happen, but she lost Maxwell. And Drake is just an internet meme, so like, but obviously she's built memories with them. And then that's what actually spurred Uni to commit terrorism, right? She worked with Crow because she saw how Mihara was tossed aside and treated as garbage, right? To Uni, Mihara was everything, and Suen so quickly wiped her memories. And Uni saw how different. Well, no, she saw that Rappy didn't lose her memories, right? And I'm pretty sure she saw that she cared so much more for this squad over hers, and that sent her over the edge to, you know. Never meet your heroes, never meet your fans. I mean, shoot, that's what happened with Anise. Anise got fucking... Well, let's see what happened. With Anise, she was killed because she was shot when she met Pretty, right? She met Pretty in person and she got shot at her... Well, Pretty was shot at, and then she was killed and trampled, I think, during that event. Same with like Mint, right? Or was it the other one, Prika? I don't think all of them were there. I think it was Anise and either Prika or Mint who were killed at that event. But yeah, that's what happened. But
全部忘れたりしないわよね。ずっと私の誇れるニケとして、私を守った最強のヒーローとしてそばにいるわよね。
yeah, so there's the other image.
もちろんだ。
君が望むなら私はいつでも君のそばで君が誇る最強のヒーローでいよう。私は君のヒーローだから。それでいいの。
それでいいの。Gramble had an update. Thankfully, it popped up over OBS. He was honestly thinking about the one K-pop star that was nearly stabbed to death by a fan. People were saying release her because she's pretty. I don't know if you guys remember. This is exactly what happened to Christina Grimmie. And I think about that still. After that day, the break room at the end of the third floor hallway sealed off. And then Drake came on board.
これでやっとプロジェクトメティスが生み出したニケはメティス部隊所属のニケとしてこれでやっと
I guess we don't really need to.
揃ったわね。アークの平和のために戦っていくわ。ミシリスのヒーローたちの実力は最強の部隊と呼ばれるにふさわしいということ。これから証明してあげるから期待してなさい。
最強のヒーローたちの生みの親、ミシリスの CEO シュエン様です。今日のご気分はいかがですか？
最高よ。そうでない理由なんてあるの？とても素晴らしい日なんだから。
She puts on a smile as if it was the happiest day in the world.
シュエン。あ、
So now we're back to present day.
どうしたの？そんなにぼーっとして。なんでもない。疲れて居眠りしてたわ。そうなの？じゃあこんなところに来てないで休みなよ。甘いお菓子でも持って行ってあげようか。
The fact that she would say this, that's got to be torture, man.
いらない。
That's what Maxwell did as a human. The first thing she did.
まあ好きにして。ドレイクもちょうど来たみたいだし、久しぶりに全員でテストしてみる？
Like that offer where, yeah, she's like, this is an updated version. This happened in the story like a year ago, and now they're getting this story was the this is why we got like upgraded Laplace and Maxwell now. We got the story tied to it.
シュエン？シュエン、具合でも悪いのか
？We haven't got the updated Drake yet, but
平気よ。騒がないで。じゃあなんでそんなにぼーっとしてるんだろうね。
改めて自分が作ったニケに満足したとか？
Sue looks at the heroes before her. Drake, Laplace, Maxwell. Greatest Nikke she's ever made. Or I threw that in there. I gotta added more to it, but you know. Her heroes who guard her position.
ええ、そうよ。
Yep. Sue and a fraud, yeah. So, as you can see on Discord, the crash out that I had on this event, because I was so... there was no one I could talk to about this event, because the Nikke community is a bunch of garbage incels, but like, it's just, this event was so you see how it made me feel strongly. So you got to scroll up to the first of it's so funny, this is right before I got hit by a car. So this was like the 1st of August, and you can see that I shared a picture that had the parallels of both Suen and Laplace when they were both watching the TV. When Maxwell came to help Lil Suen, and then when Laplace helped Big Suen, how each one was clinging onto each other's arms, and then the picture of Maxwell at the end. And I was just like, what did I said? Selfish, disgusting, incorrigible monster that Suen is, or has become. And I was talking about, there's the thing about Maxwell losing autonomy of herself. And imagine you want to die and someone else decides no. And not even from noble reasons, for petty, selfish ones. And I was just so... You gotta, it's in the GBF one. You have to scroll up. But I was just... It was such a strong event because it showed, like, you can see just how strong the writing team is, and like how good this event was. Like, I could not stream it. It was just so good, especially when we know what kind of person Suen is. Now we know Maxwell's beginnings. So now what we're gonna do. Also, we're gonna do hard mode. We're gonna finish the ending today, because normally it wouldn't finish until tomorrow, but like I said, I won't be home until later. So we're gonna go ahead and get one of these, and we're gonna do this right now. I never even put Maxwell into the party, so let me put Maxwell into the party just for the sake of it after this one. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, it's not that far. Alright. This is a first for me too, so I don't know what this is going to be about.
私が呼び出されるなんて。メティスの子たちを作っている時以来でしょうか。
Yeah.
違いました？
Or is this one Uni?
雑談のために呼んだんじゃないわ。
もう意地悪ですね。あなたの頭を打った犯人は捕まえて
Uni.
しっかり罰を受けさせました。
So this is directly after that.
許してもらえないのですか？
Or no, I guess not directly after
マ
that.
クスウェルさんのこと。
おしゃべりするつもりはないって言ってるでしょ。それに怒る気にもならないわ。お前にそんな気持ち向けるのももったいないし。
ええ、そうでしたね。それでうちに少しの気持ちも向けてくれない可愛い妹が貴重な時間を割いてまでどういう要件です？
お前最近メティスの資料を盗み出してるわね。
Was this because Mihara wanted to be...
はい？うちが何を？
メティスに関する資料いろいろよ。盗んでるのお前でしょ。
いいえ、
違うっていうの。
そんなことをして何になると？ボディの実物ならともかく、私の研究には全く役に立たないでしょう。
お前じゃなかったの。
こんなことで嘘をつく理由なんてありませんよ。
じゃあ誰だっていうのよ。
まさか本当にメティスの資料がミシリス最高レベルのセキュリティ下にあるトップシークレットのデータを？
そうよ。最高レベルのセキュリティを突破しておいてメティスのデータだけ盗んでく。お前以外に誰がいるっていうの？
最高レベルのセキュリティを突破してメティスのデータだけを？他の貴重なものには見向きもせず。
I think I know who it is, right?
そう言ってるでしょ。この世にそんなイカれた人間お前以外に
いますね。そないなことをする人が。
And May, right?
まさかこんなとこで
Ooh,
顔
yeah.
出しはるなんて。
Okay, okay.
何よ急に思い当たるやつがいるの？
ほんまにわからへんのですか？お互いよう知っとる人やと思いますけど。
私もよく知ってる人？
アークの中とは限りません。
バカ言わないで。地上のどこにアークのセキュリティを突破できるような。
地上からアークのセキュリティを突破してネットワークに接続できるようなアークの通信システムを構築した希代の天才。これでもまだ？
まさかお父様？
Okay. So we're getting story chapters at the end of the month, right?
片付きましたね。
That's gonna probably be a
旅を続け
Wednesday.
ましょう。
I think that week I'll try to work earlier so that way I can have Wednesday or at least Thursday off. Because if I have Thursday, Friday off, then I can I want to just, there's gonna be a day that I'm gonna spend playing this. All right, that's gonna be a long stream. All right, so if he's going to be involved in the next story chapter and that's what they're getting ready for, I have to see it. But okay, so yep, that is an up there event. I need to do a tier list of these events, damn it. I need to do a tier list. Yeah, so this was the Maxwell we got at the start of the game.
ベビーと一緒にテストするのはいつも楽しいよ。
And somebody had pointed out too. So you remember how when Maxwell died, she lost under like her legs, and she's got robotic ones.
いつか必ず内容の濃い実験
It was like just referencing that, I guess.
ベビー、パワーアップした私はどんな実験まで耐えられると思う？
Maxwell. And I specifically had said Maxwell had it the worst out of anyone in this event. It's just tragic. Absolutely tragic. Man. But it is now 1:40 a.m. I'm not gonna go to sleep just yet, but we're gonna call the stream. I don't think I'm gonna watch Multiverse of Madness now. I might watch it tomorrow. But you know, I'm glad I decided to give to stream it, right? I almost didn't, but that event was just way too good not to. And the discussion that it got out of me, I think it was important. So well worth it. A lot of fun. Everyone, it's another day where people can see how good this game is, right? With the writing especially. We are going to have, I think so, before the story chapters, we are going to have the Nikke and Persona collab. So the confirmed characters are Aegis, Makoto from 5, and Yukiko Amagi, right?
Night, go to sleep, you too? What the heck? Fix my glasses. What is happening?
Shine the head. Why is this happening? No way, no way. Why is Aegis the SR character, bro? There is no way they did this. Why would they do this to me? Oh my god. There's no way they decided to do that. Why would they make... Okay. So they made Aegis the SR character and not Yukiko. That is insane to me. That is so tragic. Alright, well, angrily closing the stream. Good night, everybody. Jumping. I'm gonna do it.